Hello, welcome to a one-on-one interview with Drexel CCI corporate partner eMoney Advisor. eMoney is the leading provider of scalable wealth management solutions for financial professionals, firms, and enterprises. I'm Chelsea Lowe, Program Coordinator for the Corporate Partners Program, and I'm happy to introduce CJ Good. CJ is a third-year computer science student at Drexel CCI who's also minoring in finance. He'll be interviewing Mike Callahan, Manager of Talent Strategy at eMoney. CJ, I'll pass it over to you.
All right. Hi, Mike. Can you introduce yourself, let us know your role and some of your everyday work responsibilities?
Sure. So my name is Mike Callahan. I am the Manager of Talent Strategy here at eMoney, and I'm responsible for getting in talent quickly, the best talent in quickly, and retaining that talent longer so that we can continue to grow and scale. So that includes hiring for our full-time roles, our co-op program, any internships that we have going on. I work with hiring managers every day to determine what we need in a candidate, working them through the process and making sure that we're kind of delivering on everything that we need to continue to get big value out of what we're looking for. So I work with the candidates for all throughout the interviewing stage, from the time that they apply to the time they get an offer, all the way through to their first 90 days, basically. So I'm also collaborating with marketing just to make sure that we are pushing out content to candidates externally, to making sure that we're creating this great candidate experience.
Okay, awesome. And then what value have you seen from partnering with Drexel CCI?
Yeah, I think we've seen great value with partnering from CCI. It's great to get a lot of visibility in front of students. It leads to very high engagement with our co-op program specifically. So we've seen our applications basically rise every cycle that we go through, this current cycle being the highest that we've ever had. So I think part of that is partnering with CCI to do these type of networking events. We've done lobby takeovers and workshops. So thinking that kind of involvement of not just being one in the sea of the crowd of other companies, we're doing there just like a one-on-one. eMoney is coming to a lobby takeover. eMoney is doing a workshop. So we want to make sure that we are doing that as well. But a lot of our hiring managers have shown interest in bringing co-ops on, or interns that have done well. They want to bring them on full-time, or if they haven't graduated yet, they want to have them back for another co-op. So I think there's been a lot of value there.
Okay, that's awesome.
CJ, hold on one second. Mike, I do see that your background is inverted. CJ, are you seeing that on your background?
Yeah.
The logo. I think there's a flip thing.
Yeah, let me work on flipping that around. Is that better?
No, it didn't switch.
I think if you go in the virtual background and then hit mirror my video and uncheck that, it should flip it for you. There we
Perfect.
Go. There we go. Okay, got it. Yeah, it was looking, that's strange. It was looking good on my end, but okay. Either way, as long as we're good.
All right, awesome. So what is an example of a service that eMoney provides that makes it easier for clients to conceptualize, speak about, or manage money?
Sure. So everyone has their unique goals when it comes to personal finance. So it's important for us to kind of customize to the end user, whatever that may be. So let's say you want to retire at age 65 and you want a mansion and a sports car. So what we would do is, in our software, put it in these kind of custom filters so we can show you what the various simulations are and how to get there. So very interactive tool that does a lot of visualizations and any kind of data scraping as well. So the next step in our evolution is going to a more mobile type of product. So we're going to be doing that at the end of the year. So you can kind of see what your spending behavior is like, in the current situation. How much are you doing DoorDash? How much are you doing Amazon? Is that in line with what is best for your financial well-being? And how can we improve those behaviors if it seems like there's room for improvement there?
Okay, that's great. That's a very popular trend right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there are currently 3 office locations. How do you collaborate with teammates across all these different offices?
Yeah, so we have 3 offices, like you said. So we have the Pennsylvania office, the Rhode Island, and the California office. So In my team alone, we have people in the Pennsylvania office and the Rhode Island, and then we have someone that works remotely. So obviously everyone's working remotely right now, but even before the pandemic, we were doing a lot of just team meetings every week. We do one-on-one meetings. We do just anything as far as, you just need a quick answer. It doesn't need a 30-minute meeting. So you can just, we use Microsoft Teams. So we do a quick chat, but we do a lot of video conferencing right now. So right now there's no just like tapping someone on the shoulder. So we're just kind of like scheduling meetings and just for work stuff, but also just kind of like, hey, for personal interaction, because there's not a whole lot of that going on right now. So we're doing a lot more of the video conferencing. But like I mentioned, before the pandemic, we've always been a very collaborative type of company. So there's various software teams and they're not just like only in the Radnor office, only in Providence. There might be teams that are dispersed, like this mobile team that we're creating for our mobile product. There's people that work in Florida, there's people who work in Colorado, Boston. So it's important to have that kind of collaboration, and we use that through various type of outlets like Microsoft Teams and Zoom right now.
Okay, great. What learning opportunities do you have for your employees? Like, do you provide any like finance-related trainings or things of that nature?
So yeah, learning and development, that's kind of like a broad topic. So we have our own learning and development department. So that is where you can do anything as far as just personal learning. Like we have, like I'm going to a workshop that's going to be how to lead virtually. There's how to get the most out of meetings. There's management training, addressing like poor performance, all those types of like, maybe we'll call them like more like the HR features. But we also have an app called Libby. So it's just a virtual library. We can rent out books. It doesn't have to be anything specific. It's just, you can request if there's not a book there that you want, you can request to have that. So those are the types of things that we do internally. Externally, we also reserve room in our budget so that people can attend any kind of conferences that they want. For example, our Salesforce team, they go out to Dreamforce in San Francisco every year. So, you know, we want to make sure that you're getting everything that you can within the four walls of eMoney, but also you don't graduate from learning. There's always like more to kind of get out of that. So we want to make sure that people can get the most out of their experience here. But also back to like the financial question he asked, is financial trainings. We do have a financial planning group, and they're always up for any type of questions. They do various workshops for financial literacy as well.
Okay, that's great. And then more of like a technical question. What coding languages, APIs, or other libraries are prominently used in eMoney?
Yes, so traditionally, so we've been in business for about 20 years, so that's kind of evolved over the last couple of years specifically, but traditionally we have been on the Microsoft stack, so mostly ASP.NET, C#, MVC, SQL in the databases, JavaScript front end. I think what is important is people that are just strong object-oriented programmers, people are pragmatic about technology, but more specifically, like we're going to more like AWS and cloud. There's more like specialized teams that are doing like front-end work. So the front-end team will do things like React.js, and there's an API management team. We're getting more involved in like APIs. So they're going to be utilizing microservices, RESTful APIs. And then our mobile team, we're using Python, Django, Flask, and then React Native. So I think there's a lot to be kind of had there. You know, like I said, traditionally we were just a shop that seemed to have just purely Microsoft developers with ASP.NET, C#, and SQL, kind of like a various of balance. Like some teams that's kind of like the base stack, some teams more back end with C# and SQL, some teams more front end with JavaScript. And then we've gotten into this evolution where we have a team that's more just of the specialists with JavaScript and React.js, Angular. But overall, I think we're kind of like almost technology agnostic. I think it's really about what kind of concepts that you learn from these object-oriented languages that you can apply in their other areas.
Okay, yeah, that's great. And then I guess on a similar topic, you kind of answered this a little bit, but like what kind of projects would a developer generally work on? Like what would be like an end product that would be released?
Yeah, so I guess it kind of depends on, like, there's so many different teams that we have, like I mentioned. Like, so we have like a front end team that's doing React.js. We have an authentication team that is dealing with like your secure login. So there's going to be a lot of different teams. There's probably upwards of like 15 total teams. So they're going to be working on different things at different times. We do 2-week sprints as far as like when the releases are planned. But like some teams might be doing like more of the data scraping kind of roles. Some teams might be doing like enhancing the simulation program. So those are areas that we want to make sure that those are available. But again, everything is going to be determined by what the end user is determining for the product. We're doing those in 2-week sprints and making sure that everything's lined up. There's a scrum master that kind of like holds everyone accountable from the timelines. But, you know, we also reserve room for like a couple of hours per week so that you can do any kind of self-learning. You know, you're working on a given team, there's a base of technologies that you're working on, but it's also important, like learning development, like what you were asking about earlier. Those kind of things that we want to make sure that you're able to get exposure into things that you think, you know what, we're working on X, Y, and Z right now. I really think this might enhance us. So I'm going to kind of delve into that for 1 or 2 hours this week and see if that works, test it out, be honest about the results. And if it's working, we can add more time to that. If it's not, we can just move on to the next thing.
Okay, awesome. And then I guess we'll take a little bit of a break from the technical questions, go back into what non-technical skills are most important to you for job applicants?
Sure. So this is a pretty common question. So the technology skills there are important, but I think it's only really half of the responsibilities. The other is kind of like these like invisible skills. We call them soft skills, or we call them like power skills. But you know, it's the approach to job seeking, the approach to success in a role is very underrated. So the communication skills are always going to be huge, kind of like setting out what your goals are, how you're going to get there, being assertive in that. I want to be one of the top performing programmers on this team. I think it's going to take X, Y, and Z. What do you think as a person that has seen this and done this? And then just kind of taking the inventory, building around that, knowing what like your KPIs are and just driving towards that. You don't want to just say, I have these raw skills, I'm going to put a lot of energy into this, and it's not really working out that well. More targeted and more specific you can get to the people that are decision makers, that's going to kind of what is going to be important. So we do a version of this in our development interviews. So we'll do like kind of like, you know, hands-on pairing for maybe like 90 minutes. So that is something where we'll kind of like show you an example of here's how it works on our team, and seeing how you are like, what kind of guidance that you need after learning that, and how much you can kind of start driving yourself. And like, we don't want to hire people that are just going to be like the order takers. We want to make sure that we're getting innovative people that are taking a diverse look at how to solve interesting problems. So we want to make sure that we get people in that are taking the lead. They're not just doing the order taking, like I mentioned. They're just kind of saying, you know what, that has worked for a certain amount of time. I think it'd be better if we try it this way. So I think having that level of communication, not being afraid to ask, why have we always done it this way type of a thing, just being able to challenge like old assumptions.
Okay, yeah, keep pushing the company forward.
Exactly, yep.
And then another question would be what type of jobs would recent graduates be hired for?
So the most common route we would see for people that are just graduating, we call these associate level roles. So the hierarchy kind of goes, you know, associate level, that's our entry level, maybe entry level to someone maybe they're after their first job with maybe like 1 or 2 years of experience. So it's probably like within like 0 to like 3 years is what we're considering someone at the associate level. And then the hierarchy goes from associate to mid-level to senior to tech lead, and the highest is going to be like this advisory, which is probably principal level in external kind of cases. But starting at that level, that's what's going to be the most important. You know, that's when you're going to be absorbing a lot of the information there. And like I said, we've had good success with Drexel in the past. We've had people that started a co-op here, and then now they're managing a team a couple of years later. So it's those kind of positions. You can find them on our career site. You can sign up for job alerts. You can reach out to me personally, and what I can do is kind of put you in our system and make sure, okay, we don't have anything right now, but when the time comes 3 months, 6 months from now, I have you kind of like almost like in an email list, and I can just say, hey, we connected on X date. Just want to let you know this is a position. It's not even open yet, but it's going to be open in the next week or so. Want to make sure, see if this is something that you're interested in hearing about, can get you kind of like to the front of the line type of thing.
Okay, awesome. And then I guess a little bit further, you talked about the company structure. How would you describe the company's culture along with like how it fits in with that structure?
Sure. So we actually administer surveys for candidates that come on site for a final interview. And this is one of the questions, because what we want to project is this kind of image of collaboration and innovation. And that's usually the number one thing that we get is when, like, what was your opinion of our company culture? And the number one answer has always been collaboration. So that's a good thing for us, because that's the kind of environment that we want. We are very selective in the people that we bring on, but we want to make sure that we are getting people from various types of backgrounds so they can take a creative look into how to solve complex problems. So that's kind of what we want to make sure that we're doing, so we can build around the long term. So we want to make sure that we get people who love to innovate and work well within teams. And when you're able to come on site and just interview for 2.5 hours or 3 hours, and if your takeaway is collaboration, I think we've done our job pretty well. So I think that's what the kind of number one thing is. I don't think anyone really needs to be micromanaged at eMoney. I think if you're in here, you're doing something right. So a lot of people are just kind of working on projects that they are passionate about, and that kind of comes through when you're interviewing with if you're interviewing with software engineers, you're going to kind of get that laid back mentality, high priority work, but still like laid back. So it pushes through this kind of sense of innovation and collaboration.
Okay, that sounds great. And then kind of like a capstone question to kind of like the question of all questions. What is your favorite part about working at eMoney? Like, what makes you get up in the morning? Like that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds a little cheesy, but the answer is the people. I was 3 years ago, so I started at eMoney in late April of 2017, and I was in a place where I was like, you know what, I'm taking inventory of what is important to myself. So, I made my short list of things that I wanted. I wanted to work for a company that works on cutting edge technology, a company that really gives back to its people, and a company that has a flagship product in the market. So I knew that if I were able to have those 3 things on my checklist, I was going to be happy. So I did my research, and eMoney was at the top of my list. I went in for the interview, and I knew when I walked in the doors and just kind of saw and felt like just kind of that atmosphere, I knew it was going to be something that I wanted to be a part of. So you just walk through and you see people that are just grabbing coffee, they're sitting on the couches or beanbags, and they're just kind of chatting. It could be just casual, or they could just be saying, hey, I want to get your opinion on something that I'm having a little bit of trouble with, just want to kind of pick your brain kind of a thing. So that kind of came through a lot for me. Going back to kind of like having our high standards of the people that we hire, but that allows us to build around those people. It creates a very positive type of work environment. And I think when you have a lot of top performing people that have the same type of goal in mind, that just creates this great sense of innovation and creativity to make sure that we're driving things forward. I think that because of that, we're able to kind of really think creatively. Like if there's something that I want to work on and there's something like, you know what, here's what we've been doing. And I think if we add in these types of elements, I'm just interested in testing just to see if it works. I can't guarantee results, but I would like to just kind of like at least take a shot there. You can usually make a pretty good case as to why, and you don't hear no a lot. It's like, okay, we haven't done this before. Let's test it out and be honest about the results. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work, and now we know it doesn't work. Best case scenario, maybe we've uncovered something that we can be optimizing and automating that we didn't even know about. So I think the ability to get creative, the ability to just have some fun with things, the work doesn't have to be just 9 to 5 corporate stuff. You can just get a little bit looser with things. Like I collaborate with the marketing team a lot just to see like what do people respond to? How do we kind of predict what people are going to do, and try to tie this like almost like human psychology into data and analytics. So it's a very odd type of like crossroads there, but it's something that we're looking into because I think there is some value there. So you don't hear about psychology and data and analytics within a manager of talent acquisition type of role. So it's great to kind of get this type of creativity and innovation. I think that's something that really drives people.
Awesome. I think if anything, that's going to be that's what's going to draw people to eMoney.
Right. No, I agree.
That's great.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today. And CJ, great job on your first interview. I really appreciate both of you taking the time to present to us today.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity. I think it's something great that is possible. There's not a whole lot of physical networking stuff to do right now. So I think this is a great kind of thing just to make sure that there's still that like overlap of communication.